It can be. Check, 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 check. If you can hear me at home, say Shabbat Shalom in the text box, in the chat box. Yeah, you can hear? It can be, yes. So there's a, hello, there. So you can turn chat on and off. This is also for, so hold it sideways. There you go, so you should be able to see the chats. What are you trying to do? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. People at home aren't complaining? All right. For what? Yeah, so we'll set it up so that it's much easier. Okay. Will you come light the candles? Will you come light the candles?
Nancy and Monty Tabak for Shabbat candles.
Okay.
Nancy and Monty Tabak.
Okay.
Remember last time I did it, the candle went out.
So, yes. Shabbat shalom, we sing Shabbat shalom. 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 For those of you sitting here, let's try Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Oh, the mask kills me. No, so I was telling Mike just before the service started, a lot of people I know have COVID. So I'm going to leave my mask on for everybody's safety. For those of you watching at home, welcome, Shabbat Shalom. For those of you here, welcome, Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start tonight with the words of Psalm 96. We're going to turn not to the page for Psalm 96 in the prayer book, but we're going to turn all the way to the back. I believe it's on page 648. Should be. Psalm 96 says, sing a new song to God. Yes, on to 648. It's called Shir Chadash. We sing a new song. Try it again. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chad. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai, Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, Shir. Sing unto God. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. So we're going to turn back to page 138. Sing it. Page 138 has the words of L'Chadodi. L'Chadodi is a poem talking about Shabbat as a bride. And we go out to meet the bride as we welcome in Shabbat. We welcome in this day of rest. Did you know that before the Jewish people, there was no concept of taking a break? Not like this, at least, where there's time set aside every week. Oh, that's time off. Before that, people worked a whole lot, and they worked all the way through. It's one of the greatest gifts of the Jewish people, in my opinion. It's very low. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Let's try it together. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'diborecha hishmi'anu el hameyuchad Adonai echad o shemo echad shem ultiferet el nitchila lechad likrat b'nei Shabbat nekabela lechadodi Verse number 2. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לחדודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לחדודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. We're on the next page at the top. התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לחדותי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לחדותי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. For the final verse of the Chadodi, it's our custom, it's our tradition to rise and face the entrance to our sanctuary. For those of you watching at home, it can be the entrance to whatever room you're in, the entrance to your home itself. We rise, if you're able, as we welcome in the bride of Shabbat, the Shabbat queen. Verse number 9. בואי ושלום עטרת בלגן בשמחה ובצהלתו אמוני העם סגולה. בואי חלה לחדודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לחדודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. On page
140, 140. So what are, for those of you in the room, if you have a book at home, if you have a Siddur, that's awesome. For those of you in the room, what are the first two words? Mizmor Shir. And what are the next two words? Yom HaShabbat. So this is the song, or the psalm, for the Sabbath day. What does that mean? There may be something in the footnotes. No, it's this is the song for the Sabbath day. Every day gets its own psalm, and in particular, Shabbat gets this. What does this have to do with Shabbat? Anybody? It is. But I could say this is the song for me. There has to be something in it, right? It has to say something. So what's it saying? So it says there is a little bit about praising God in here, but what else is there? When every day could be like Shabbat, what did you say? How to live. How to live. So my favorite part of this begins on the third line. So it says, Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulzamer l'shimcha alyon, that it's good to give thanks to God. That when you wake up in the morning, to declare God's greatness. Now, that is very simple, very easy. We're coming out of the darkest part of the year, right? But right when you walk outside now, it's not so what? First of all, it's not so bright, right? It's very dark outside. And it's a little bit scary. Yeah? Anybody scared of the dark still? It's okay, no? It depends on where you are and what you're doing, yeah? So it's very easy in the morning when we wake up to open our eyes and say, oh, it's so wonderful, it's so beautiful, look at the sun, oh, especially here in Florida. It's not so easy when you wake up in the middle of the night and you look out the window to say, oh, it's so amazing, it's so wonderful, look at the pitch blackness outside, right? What's in the bushes? What's in the trees? Is there somebody behind me? Right? Have you ever had that feeling? Really easy in the morning. Nighttime, it's a little more difficult. But regardless of the time of day, we're still supposed to give thanks. You could say that we're the people of gratitude, right? What are we called? The something people? So it's not where I was going. I said it before. Everyone comes from the tribe or from the name Judah, yeah? It's where we get Yehudi or Jews, yeah? So Yehuda comes from the same root of the word for thanks. We are the people who give thanks. And so as the people who give thanks, I'd like to invite, is anyone here thankful for anything this week that they'd like to share? Please. Oh, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Oh, grandchildren being born. Something very much to give thanks for. Anyone else, please? Oh, welcome. The weather's much nicer down here, yeah? For family members visiting, yeah? Wow. For being together with friends and family, especially when it's been not so recent was the last time that we visited. Anyone else? If you're at home and you want to share something that you're grateful for with us, please put it in the chat box. And the temple president is going to stand up and recite it for all of us to hear. Thanks, Mike. So for all these things, we say Tov lehodot l'Adonai. It's good to give thanks to God. 3 lines down on page 140. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני. All right, to declare in the morning, לחגיד בבוקר, לחגיד בבוקר, חסדך, לחגיד בבוקר, חסדך, לחגיד בבוקר, חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני. I know it jumps back and forth. There's going to be some words that repeat. We always go back to the beginning on that third line. We say Tov lehodot l'Adonai. I'll try and call out the words for all of you. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני. לחגיד בבוקר, לחגיד בבוקר חסדך. לחגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני. So on page 142, what do we have? Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem is not a prayer. Yes, it's just a poem where we welcome the angels of Shabbat. We welcome them, we ask for their blessing, and then we send them on their way. This was one of those weeks where, anybody like the paranormal? Yeah? Anybody? No? It makes for a lot of very good late night TV, even today. So the hotel where I'm staying, next door, there's a paranormal circus of some kind. That's how the person at the front desk described it. And she said, and there's a lot of very strange people around. And she was not wrong. There's a lot of very strange people wandering around, some of them in costumes. Some of them very clearly work for the circus or the carnival, whatever it is. You have to be 18 years old to get in. Oh, serious. Okay. 2 Jews, 3 opinions about. So I was thinking about it. This was one of those weeks where a lot of paranormal discussions came up. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in a little bit. But the word for angel in Hebrew means messenger, right? This idea of little chubby babies with wings, right? Kind of like, right, what do we call them, cherubs? Yes, like, oh, Valentine's Day is almost upon us. Yes, that's why I'm thinking of it. Cupid with an arrow is not so much us, right? The way that we are told about the cherubs is that they are a little bit terrifying. Atop the Ark of the Covenant, have everyone seen Raiders of the Lost Ark? Yes? So before all of the faces melted off, you have the shape of 2 angels going like this with their wings, facing each other. Does that sound familiar-ish? Yeah? So that's a very different image than just a messenger, right? When we hear about the angel that makes sure that Adam and Eve don't go back into the Garden of Eden, it says that the angel is carrying a sword that's a flame and like stands guard outside of the garden, making sure nobody goes back in, otherwise he gets to use the sword. It's not the description of a regular messenger either. I was picturing someone from FedEx, not necessarily, right, an angel with a sword on fire, or with wings covering its face as it faces its partner atop the ark. And right in between the 2 angels is where God hangs out. Not the usual messenger that I had envisioned, right? I don't know what any of you have envisioned when you hear that word, but you can understand maybe why the rabbis did not trust the angels so much. Besides bringing messages, they also usually brought trouble. And so while they are different than us, while they are closer in perhaps height, elevation, not stature, to God, we don't quite trust them. And so we'll ask for their blessing, and then we will very quickly send them on their way tomorrow at the close of Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon. מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא בואכם לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך. And we ask for their blessing. Baruchuni לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Okay. So before we can continue with Mariv, the evening service, we have to light the candles. Because once the candles are lit, Shabbat is officially here. And then you're not allowed to make fire. Would you really like to come, please? Light the candles. Mike, can you turn on the microphone over here? And if you can work that,
Give that to him.
We're good. Say the blessing, if you'll just read at the top together.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Thank you. If you'd like to join in the blessing for the candles, we're on page 120. Oop, if you flip it, just
Oh.
there we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'echad likner shel Shabbat. Thank you so much.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Thank you. We're on page 146. There are several times during any service, actually, where we're asked to stand up and sit down and stand up and sit down. Yes? So I said it before, I'll say it again. If you are able, if you are comfortable, if you are willing, if you are feeling it tonight, we rise on page 146 for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, the call to community. Even those of you at home, even though we can't see you, if you feel like it, stand up. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Let's read together on the top of page 147. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one who rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection, And there is one. All the worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. On page 148. We are 9 lines down from the top. 9 lines. So it says, Borei yom u'valayla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, that God rolls light away from darkness and darkness from light. So the simple translation for that is roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, and day turns to, okay, you know half the song. Goes like this. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to, very nice. Let's try one more time. Roll into dark, roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to 9 lines down in the Hebrew or the Heblish, depending on which side of the page you're looking at. Borei. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech golel or mipnei choshech lechoshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to Borei yom u'valayla. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light, roll in. Night becomes day, night becomes day. Day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns. Umavir yom umevin laila, umavir yom umevin laila. Adonai tzivahot shemo, el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Haravim. On page 152. And 153. The words of the Shema are at the core of what it means to be a Jew for most people. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Right? You may not even know what it means, but chances are you have heard it. How many words? Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. 6 words. 6 words which bring us to completion. Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. That oneness was a game changer. It was a new way of thinking about the realm that God occupies. Right? Instead of a God for rain and a God for planting and a God for healing and health, all of a sudden it was a one-stop God shop, right? And most of us take it for granted. We don't necessarily think when we ask something, when we pray for something, whether it's a giving of thanks like we did earlier, or whether it's a gimme, right? Prayers come in different forms. There's like 4 main prayer types. There's the excuse me, right? There's the gimme, right? There's the giving of thanks, and there's the oops. Oops is my favorite. Have you ever made a mistake and said, oops, right? I'm sorry. This, on the other hand, is not really a prayer, is it? It's a declaration. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. There is one God. Hear, O Israel. Hear, not here, but hear, O Israel. Adonai is our God. Adonai Eloheinu, right? Our God. Adonai Echad. It's a concept of duality, which is incredibly complicated. Non-duality. But it doesn't really matter what it means, right? For us, it's become the watchword of our faith. That's how I was taught, right? That's how I learned it growing up. We're going to recite the watchword of our faith. If you needed to sum up what it means to be Jewish, or in this case, to be an ancient Israelite, whatever that felt like, there was something different. There was something different about the belief. And whether it's that we believe in one God, or whether we come from a line of people who believed such, these words have become incredibly important and incredibly powerful for us. It probably was always meant as a meditation. Some people close their eyes. Some people like to make a shin with their fingers and place it on their eyelids and in the middle on their forehead. Whatever your practice, whether you stand, whether you sit, we join together in the words of our tradition. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. On page 154, let's read together at the bottom. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who led you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, Adonai Elohechem Emet. Let's turn to page, we're on page 162, I believe. I, of course, am looking at a book with no page numbers on it, so I'm doing it by memory. Oh, yes. So the psalm for the Sabbath day is Psalm 92. But in the Torah, it describes the words, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, that this is the song for the Sabbath day. V'shamru, page 162. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם אותי לעולם. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. For those of you at home, in just a minute we're going to join together in the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing. If you'd like to mention the name of someone that you're thinking about who could use a little extra healing, please write their name in the chat box, and we'll read it together in just a few moments when we join together in the healing prayer. 1 week I will manage to not get to this point in the service and have it be 10 minutes to 8. The paranormal. Yeah? Anybody watch any of those ghost finder shows? Yeah? Oh, yeah. It is interesting. It is interesting. Anyone a fan of things like The Exorcist, that kind of movie? No? Pea soup? Nobody? How about Ancient Aliens?
Okay.
Yes? You like to watch? You watch Giorgio?
A while ago. This is all, ancient aliens.
Yes. So we've reached the part of the Torah that is a little bit difficult to explain, right? So in the beginning there was Adam and there was Eve and there was a garden and there was an angel outside apparently with a flaming sword, and it rained and it poured for 40 days, right? Am I my brother's keeper? Abraham went on a walk, a really long walk, and ended up all the way in the land of Egypt. And that's how we end the book of Genesis, right? The Jewish people, or the proto-Israelite people, make their way to Egypt. And the book of Exodus begins that a new Pharaoh arose, right? Do you know this story? Right? A new Pharaoh arose who did not remember Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And then the Israelites, after some time, flee. And there's a crossing. Maybe there was, Charlton Heston. Maybe there was crossing of the Everglades. It depends on how you read the story. Either way, as soon as they get into the desert, things start to get funky. The narrative and the tone of the story itself begins to change. And so last week, we read from Terumah, the portion where each person is supposed to bring some of the valuables that they left Egypt with, right? One of my students this week wanted to know where all the gold came from that they were building this stuff from. They built an entire portable God building kind of thing. Yeah? They had all of this stuff. They had a table where they could sacrifice animals. They had a tent. They had a menorah. A menorah is not the same thing that we light on Hanukkah. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the deal? This week, we're in the portion Titzaveh, talking about that God commanded, and we get, what's that thing called? Oh, in Hebrew, wow, okay. So the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, one of the Israelis that I work with this week said, except when the power goes off. We get an eternal light, a light that should always shine. We have these descriptions of clothing. Yeah? How many of you like to shop? Yeah? You like to go clothes shopping? No? Yeah? Okay. Sometimes it's my favorite, sometimes it's not. It depends. But this week we get a lot of description about what a priest is supposed to wear. Right? And it's all just because. Is that a good reason for anything?
Because God said so?
So, because God said so, but think about what we teach little kids. It's what a parent says, right? But most parents don't go out of their way to describe in such detail what the child is supposed to wear, right? And it's to the point where we have to kind of throw our hands up in the air at some point and say, we just don't get it. So what am I talking about? Just the breastplate alone, yes? Do we have, I'm not going to open the ark, but is there a breastplate on one of the Torahs?
Yes.
The Torah is dressed the way that the high priest was dressed.
The stone.
So yes, with the stones. Yes? How many tribes of Israel?
12.
How many stones?
12.
One for each. With the name of the tribe on the stone.
Right.
Precious gems. And they were all supposed to come together on this breastplate, and they aided in some way the priest's ability to communicate with God. It was the schematics for the God telephone. It's funny, but it's also, that's basically what it's describing. And I bring up ancient aliens, and I bring up the paranormal and things like that, because that's what it's describing. And they love to fixate on those details, right? Because if we can't understand, it was clearly not of us, right? It came from somewhere else, and so if it came from somewhere else, Maybe from another planet instead of, another plane of existence. And it gets weirder than that. There are we don't even really know what they were. There were stones that the priests used, the Orim and the Tumim, which I don't even know how to translate into English. It's usually translated as the Orim and the Tumim. And what was it? It was like, have you ever held two ends of the cans up to your ears with the string in between to make a telephone? Yeah? It was like that, but to talk to God. It would help them to divine what was going to happen or what they should do. All the magic and all the woo-woo, right? And a lot of it had to do, somehow, with the way that the priests were dressed. So I thought about clothes this week a lot. What's the difference between wearing a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt to work every day and having to get dressed up?
Attitude.
Say more. Attitude. What kind of?
Presentation.
What did you say?
Presentation.
Presentation. Why is presentation important?
That's what you do for a living.
It depends on what you do for a living. It's true. So for lawyers to go into court wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, it's not okay?
It's disrespectful.
So why is it disrespectful?
Because you dress up properly to go to courtroom, other places like that.
So why do we do that?
That's what my parents.
Okay. No, it's a good answer, because that's what my parents taught me, right? Now,
Society dictates it.
society dictates it.
I think that whole issue is about power. In other words,
Say more.
they dress you different. You're in charge. Everybody else listens to what you say, or they'll go somewhere they don't want to go.
Hmm?
And the people who wrote it down for themselves.
You think so?
Well, I mean, their motive might be different, but the result is they are special.
Yes, they are special.
And everybody else has to answer to them because they have the word of God.
It's true. So it is.
A lot of it's in the optics.
It is. You're right. The marketing, as it were. There is absolutely a power dynamic happening in the story, in the Torah. The priests are all of a sudden elevated above everyone else. They have a different kind of connection to God. We're introduced to Aaron's kids, Nadav and Abihu, who not so long from now are going to meet an untimely end because they...
Even it goes further than that, because even though at the beginning the priests may not believe it, but after a generation or so, they really believe themselves that they were special. And their children were even more.
Their children were special.
Everybody else's children.
So it's true.
It's called human nature.
So that's where I was going. It's called human nature. What does that mean? What does it mean? That when we think that we're more special than other people, we present ourselves differently.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's a funny thing, right? We're still in the book of Exodus, but we're moving towards the book of Leviticus. And while in English we have nice fancy names for the books, right? General Electric Lights Never Dim. Anybody learn that? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Right? Deuteronomy is a fancy word that just means a retelling. Numbers because there's lots of numbers. What about Leviticus?
Laws.
So it's laws. What does Leviticus mean?
Rules of the game.
Of or pertaining to Levitical things. And who were the Levites? The priests. And what were the priests interested in? Oh, that is not the answer that I would have guessed. So he said themselves. And that may be a little too harsh, maybe, I'm not sure. But it begs the question, when you elevate yourself above everyone else, or whether you are elevated above everyone else, regardless of the reason, what does it do to you? What did it do to them?
That's if you let it.
If you let it. A big ego. And the divide between the priests in this case and the rest of the people grew larger and larger, yes? To the point where, in the end, when we had a temple in Jerusalem, first and second, the priests were essentially segregated from the rest of the population, right? They were no longer the men or the people of the people, as it were.
They even got a piece of the action.
They even got a piece of the action. And
If you gave a sacrifice, they kept the hind quarter.
they needed to eat, right?
The care and breeding of priests.
The care and breeding of priests. It sounds a lot. The what?
No, I didn't say it, but it was whispered.
What do clothes do for us? What do clothes signify for us? So they do say that. Clothes make the man.
Well, there's even one other point there. When the priests got together, there was one of the priests that's usually dressed differently than the other.
Yes.
So that carries on when they got together. The priest in charge, if you will.
So the high priest, yeah.
carried that, the high priest, he had a special thing on his chest that made him more omnipotent than the others.
So not just omnipotent. It's when you see someone wearing, right, the $3,000 suit, you take notice usually, right?
Only if the price tag's still.
Only if the price tag is still on. Why is our outward appearance so important?
It's the way people perceive it.
He's a judge of it. Right.
So why is the way that people perceive us so important?
You want to be accepted.
We want to be accepted, but we also want, we want to measure up. We also want to impress, right? Now, in this case, it's whether we're impressing each other, whether it's impressing God, right? They weren't just making holy barbecue, they were doing other stuff. What does it mean for us today that we should dress nicely or differently or get dressed up? Right? There was someone this week talking about remembering going on the airlines when people flew places and dressing up to fly. Right? I luckily did not ever experience that, and mostly because I like dressing comfortably in like a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt when I go flying. Right? How many of you remember flying when you got dressed up? Yeah? Not to fly?
No. I mean, you get dressed in where you're going to.
So I don't know. One of my grandmothers, she used to say that she would get very, very dressed up, very, very fancy to go on the airplane, right? Wasn't that a thing? It was a status thing.
You know, back then, flying was very expensive. I mean, now anybody can fly, but before.
It's true.
Yeah, a lot of that is you don't want to be ridiculed. It's just sort of the opposite of that. You look at yourself, I don't want people to look at me and make fun of me.
So
But now people just want to get from here to there.
now people want to get from here to there. It's true. So the question that I leave you with, all right? Yeah, please.
Well, back in the day, a lot of the marketing was dress for success.
So today, we're in I don't know, let's call it a situation, right? Where more and more people are working from home, right? Where you're on camera, but not necessarily in person. Where there are apps that are designed to have coworkers meet at the coffee pot or the water cooler without going to a coffee pot or the water cooler, right? There's an app called Water Cooler or Coffee Break.
One thing that changed all that was the 60s.
Yes.
The 60s said, we really don't have to do this, you can wear short pants to work, and, you know, kind of not every place. But
Sure. So the 60s aside,
down to that, kind of thing.
I'm dangling. I got it. At a time when we can essentially dress however we want, right? When the only person or people that you have to impress are the ones that you live with or the person that you see in the mirror, right? Where there are problems of you have to remember to put your pants on if you're going to stand up while online. No, it's an important thing, right? Most people would prefer not to get dressed to be on camera or to do their work because they're comfortable. It's true. The number of people who stood up without pants on was greater than it ever was before. I don't know how else to describe it, right? And the fact that it's even a conversation point begs the question, is it more important to be comfortable or is it more important to look the part?
Depends on what your purpose is.
Somebody said it's better to look good than to feel good.
Okay. And I would say that today, a lot of people feel the opposite. And I would ask, and I'll leave you with this, think about for yourself, which side you land on. Is your comfort more important, or is it more important to present yourself in a way that others may see you as or better than you are? Right? We strive to be better, and part of that starts with how we're seen.
Yeah, but you can be casual and comfortable and still be presentable.
You can.
But there's still an attitude difference.
There is an attitude difference, and it comes down to not only self-esteem, but how we see ourselves. Right? A lot of this is how we see ourselves.
It depends on the crowd you're with.
It also depends on the crowd you're with. But so this Shabbat, I would ask each of us to think about how we see ourselves and how we want others to see us. And whether it's a breastplate filled with lots of stones with names on them, or whether it's a suit or a dress, or a t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants. How do the way that other people see us impact the way that we see ourselves? Shabbat Shalom. We'll turn to page 371. As our thoughts turn to those in our community, our friends, our family members who are in need of healing. Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarech v'Yirapeh et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless those in need of sickness with refuat haguf, refuat shlema, refuat hanefesh, with a healing of body, a healing of spirit, a whole and complete healing. We say amen. This week we think of Sharon Arnold, Bill Baer, Henry Botuck, Jack Cassis, Carl Erickson, Rispa Corley, Celia Grossman, Bob Holtzman, Diana Holtzman, Bob Holtzapple, David Kay, Nat Kay, Evelyn Crane, Robert Kraling, Diana Landau, Lori Licker, Cheryl Mendelson, Forrest Miles, Glenn Miller, Stuart Rossinger, Sylvia Marsh, Kelsey Cyber, Sarah Jane Victor, Arthur Weinberger, Doris Weintraub. If you'd like to mention the name of someone that you're thinking of, please. Did I miss anyone? Oh, thank you.
Deborah Brown.
Will you repeat these so that people on the live stream can hear?
We turned the mic on for you.
Don't forget. I'm not sure that mic's on. Maybe over here.
Thanks, Mike.
We have Mara Cannon Brooks. Let me get my glasses off for a second. Susie Parkerson, John Madden, Laura Kaplan, Nick Atlas. I believe, did we say Jack Cases? We did say that. And I think that's all I have. Hopefully I've repeated everyone that's asked.
For those names that we've mentioned, for those that you're thinking of, who we wish a refuah shlema, whole and complete healing, we join together on page 371 with the words of the Mishabera. Please join me. Mishabera avotenu mikol Avraham imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishabera imotenu, Mishabera imotenu, mikol Avraham avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Amen. We begin to conclude our service on page 586 with the words of the Aleinu. This is one of those times, if you're willing, if you're able, we rise together. See all the fancy clothes? Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. If you're observing a yard site, I invite you to please remain standing. Otherwise, you may be seated. Our thoughts turn to our loved ones, our friends, our family, who have died either recently or at this time in seasons past. On the occasion of Shloshim, we remember, and please, if I butcher a name, please call it out, okay? Sue Chide, beloved friend of Debbie Weisskopf. Sarah Hartman, beloved mother of Gabriel Hickman Churro. Minerva Abedin, beloved friend of Monica and Jeff Fishkin. On the occasion of Yahrzeit, we remember Larry Brown, Ruth K. Davis, Blanche Noyes Feingold, Nathan Glazer, Howard Osterman, Babette Siegel, Sarah Lee Sigloff, Marilyn Witt, Vivian Weisler, Carolyn Slatkin, Jacques Aseo. If you'd like to mention the name of someone that I have not, or if you're at home and want to mention the name of someone, please share it in the chat. For the names that we've mentioned, if it's your custom to rise for the mourner's Kaddish, for the names that we mentioned, and for those who have no one left to mention their names, we join together on page 598. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma Divrach, Yirutei V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon V'yomechon, V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala V'zman Kari V'imru, Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam Ulolmei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudesha Brichu, Le'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Damiran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Mim Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. You may be seated. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. And did I see someone flee from the room to make sure that there was food and drink for afterwards? Yes, I did. Mr. President, do we have announcements? There are always announcements. You're welcome.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's good seeing some of you. Haven't seen you in a while. So what you just acknowledged is something new, because this is probably the first time we've had, maybe let's call it a COVID oneg in a few weeks. So we are going to try to do some semblance of an oneg afterward. I want to thank Nancy Tabak and her sister Barb Dooley. The oneg is sponsored in memory of their mother, Sarah Lee Sigaloff. So thank you very much, and we'll meet outside afterwards for the oneg. So let's just go through some announcements for the week. We do have Bagels and Bible tomorrow morning. Once again, Libby Khan is the contact. If you're interested in the Zoom link, it's libbykhan@yahoo.com. Please contact her. She's a very nice lady. Welcomes you to the Bagels and Bible group. Religious school on Sunday, and then at 12:30, the men's club will be having Eric Lockshine here, correct, for internet security. He's going to do a talk on that. 12:30, there will be a light lunch provided for those that are interested. Next Wednesday night is our board meeting, 6:30 p.m. And in theme of what you talked about tonight, many a time I've worn a coat like this, but I was actually wearing boxers underneath. And I don't think anybody really knew. Book club, Holly, Thursday night, 7:30 at halaha1@msn.com, or contact Holly Del Valle for the link. Next Friday night will be a 6 p.m. start. It's our family fun Shabbat. We'll be doing the barbecue at after the service. hamburgers and hot dogs. And that weekend's a big weekend because it is our first bar mitzvah of the year. Cole Hirschman's bar mitzvah. We've had bat mitzvahs, and we will have more bat mitzvahs as the year goes on. But Cole is our only bar mitzvah this year. And so his bar mitzvah is Saturday the 19th. And that is the week. And then, like, really one big announcement. We're optimistic. You know, we read all the same stuff in the news, and we see the caseload starting to come down. So we're really guardedly optimistic that April, when we'll have our Seder, you know, the world will be back to normal. So we've booked Heritage Isle. We've got the banquet room. It holds 200 seats. We're going to have 25 tables of 8, and we want to fill the room. We really want to fill the room. Now, if it's not safe, we're not going to hold it. But if we're back to normal, we're going to do this, okay? So if you're thinking about parlaying this into a group of 8, like if you have 8 people in your family, because we're going to try to book off tables of 8 to actually do this, or find 6 or 7 friends if that's the case, okay? We'll have announcements on the pricing of this sometime next week, so we have to establish that. But I think the meal is going to be chicken and matzah, gefilte fish, all the stuff that you're used to there. We've got a great layout. Rabbi's ready. I hope you'll come up for this and be there with us Saturday night, April 16th. So again, you'll see some notification on this, but really this is our sort of reawakening here, right? We're really getting back to normal.
Oh, reawakening.
I don't know if that's the right word.
No, it's good. It's
Okay, that's such. So anyway, Shabbat Shalom, and I'll see you out there for the Yoneg.
So thank you everyone for coming, whether you're here in person, whether you're at home. I'd like to wish all of us Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Oneg is outside, yes? We'll meet for some kiddush for some dessert. So I got the testimony like every night. No, it's but it's okay. There was something about my